The World Economic Forum kicks off today in Davos, Switzerland. It's the first time that it's being held in person since 2019 due to the COVID-19 outbreak. And our business editor, Xolani Mbanjwa, is there, and we find out what to expect at this year's event. Mr. Mbanjwa, sir, so the theme for 2022 being working together, restoring trust. How would you capture the mood at this year's event so far?
Well, good afternoon, Dudu. Well, the mood here is quite an exciting one for many delegates who are here today. A lot of delegates, 2,500, ranging from political parties, politicians, civil society, economic, finance, technology, and as well as young people who are here. And it's really about how the people have been talking about the Klaus Schwab, the chairman of the World Economic Forum. His speech opening up the World Economic Forum was quite exciting and quite something that people are waiting for. Particularly, they wanted to hear about what the world or the leaders that are here are going to do about the situation in Ukraine as the war still rages there. So there's a lot to look forward to in the next couple of days as the world has descended on this mountainous, sleepy town, most of the town, sleepy town of Davos here in Switzerland, where a lot of people are actually meeting to discuss some of the world's biggest challenges.
Let's talk about the delegation to come from South Africa. Do we know who's in attendance and what our role will be there?
Well, our role here is really to sell the country, to actually make sure that the country is sold to the rest of the world, and we learn from what the rest of the world is doing. Our delegation this time around is being led by the Minister of Human Settlement, Mamoloko Kubai, who is representing the President of the country, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and the Finance Minister, Ikuto Kotongwana, who are not able to make it here as far as we understand. And that delegation includes, obviously, the cabinet ministers, CEOs. I've already met some CEOs. I met Iqbal Survey, the independent newspapers chairman, and Segun Jalo chairman. I met ABSA Group CEO, who's part of the delegation, that is Jason Quinn. I met a couple of people here who are a part of the South African delegation, and already there is a lot of talk about many people from various quarters meeting to discuss what the country can actually do to actually support programs for small businesses, for the youth, and really find out what best lessons we can learn from the rest of the world in dealing with issues such as the floods in KZN. So our delegation is here ready, already meeting a lot of people to try and find the best solutions, as that is what the Davos is about. Since the early 70s, many leaders have been meeting here to find solutions to the world's most pressing challenges.
You touched on the issue of Ukraine, but when we expand on some of the most topical discussions that will be held this year, no doubt the COVID-19 pandemic being one of them, Ukraine, as you mentioned, and now the outbreak of monkeypox in some Western nations. Is Ukraine represented there this year?
In fact, yes, Ukraine is represented here, loud and very colorful. Right at the back here, you will see a lot of movement of people, and the Ukraine House at the back is right there where you go and find out about the country, what is happening. And we did visit it earlier to find out really what is happening in the Ukraine, what is it like in terms of what people can expect if they are investors, where the war is going. We are going to go there during the course of the World Economic Forum to find out some more information, but there are Ukrainian delegates here right at the back talking to people and giving them hope about the future of that particular country. But there are other things that are quite topical, as you said. In the past couple of days, we've heard about monkeypox. There's no worry here because a lot of people are really vaccinated and many have had booster shots. But there are other issues that are topical at this particular World Economic Forum. And this is the first time that we are meeting. In the past 2 years, we've had COVID-19. So COVID-19 is still with us. It's one of those things that is quite topical as to how the world will actually recover the war in Ukraine. But climate change is also quite topical here, and it's something that for us here in South Africa, we would be very interested in finding out how to actually tackle some of the challenges brought on by climate change. And there's also other issues under discussion that are quite topical, including the issues of making sure that when we move into this just energy transition, we are not caught off guard as a country like South Africa, where we use a lot of coal for our energy resources. So there is a talk also about the technology drive and supporting small businesses. You will find close to 100 tech firms that are here, run by young people who are actually running these tech firms as startups. So there is a lot of activity across this particular city of Davos, and yes, it's quite exciting when it comes to the next couple of days as to what to actually expect.
So we've spoken about Ukraine's presence at the World Economic Forum, and we do know that the forum has actually distanced itself from Russia. Pray tell if you've been able to spot anything or hear anything about Russia.
No, we have not been able to spot any Russians around here or their delegation, but it was quite clear. We heard from Volodymyr Zelensky earlier on as a part of his address when it comes to his virtual address, and what he was calling the world to do, calling on the world to pile on those sanctions on Russia and to make it hurt, to make the war hurt in Russia, for Russia, particularly as the Ukrainians are losing in many fronts. So this was a virtual address by Zelensky, and it was something that received a standing ovation from some of the delegates here. We haven't seen a lot, or any Russian delegates, but there are delegates from Namibia, South Africa, Ukraine, a lot of other countries, and locals are here as well from that part of the country, from South Africa, who are actually coming from various companies to come and actually sell the country and make sure that South Africa is still a destination for investment. There's a lot of activity here, and I hear that the good thing to do is that for this time around, because of COVID-19, this is being held during summer, so it is about 21 degrees here, unlike in all the previous Davos forums and congresses where it's been snowy and quite cold. There's a lot of activity even at night with people who are actually holding meetings from morning right up until the night to talk about what the world needs to actually have moral leadership and to address the world's biggest challenges.
Interestingly, everybody that has gone past you is not wearing a mask, so hopefully in our next crossing we'll touch on that as well as its actual impact. You spoke about how it was established in the 70s and whether this is just another talk shop or there's actually been impact that has been felt by people all around the world. Xolani Mbanjwa is Newzroom Africa's business reporter. Thank you very much for that update.